Allowing electricity rates to soar is my fault, said Kathleen Wynne last weekend during a speech to Liberal Party faithful. It was a striking mea culpa, which the Premier tied directly to a promise to win back the trust of Ontarians. Was it also an unmistakable sign that after some remarkable by-elections and elections, the political times they are a-changin' in this province? Joining us for more, Robert Benzie. He's the Queen's Park Bureau Chief for the Toronto Star, and Alison Jones, who's the Queen's Park correspondent for the Canadian Press. Good to see you two here on this fine day. Shall we hear from the Premier's speech? Here's what she said. I think that people look at me and many of them think she's not who we thought she was. She's become a typical politician. She'll do anything to win. How did the room react when she said that?
The room was pretty silent when she said that. I mean, it's obviously a very receptive audience to the positive messages. She got a lot of standing ovations during the speech when she was giving the sort of rah-rah liberal stuff. But during that moment, the room was pretty silent. You know, the reaction following the speech has been really interesting, too, to see that I'm not sure that it's convincing anybody who wasn't already convinced. I'm not sure it's changing any minds.
Having said that, I mean, you've seen a lot of premiers come and go. That's a fairly extraordinary thing for somebody to admit.
The mea culpa speech was a surprise to Alison and me and to the 850 Liberals in the room. But in reflection, we've seen this movie before with Kathleen Wynne. Remember, after she took over from Dalton McGuinty in 2013, she said a lot of stories at that time, too, mostly about the gas plants, the canceled gas plants in Oakville and Mississauga before the 2011 election that were one of the factors that drove Mr. McGuinty into the retirement ranks. And I think that the Liberals saw that it was successful when, at the debate that you moderated, Steve, she looked into the camera and said, I'm sorry to Ontario voters. And it helped her in that election, I think, in 2014, that she was able to say, I'm different than the last guy. Now the problems she has are her own, though.
Yes, these are issues of her making, and therefore, I guess the question becomes, can you go to that well once again, and can it work once again?
They don't play hit records once, so I guess that's what the Liberals figure.
Well, to be fair, though, she didn't say, I'm sorry, in this speech. Interestingly, you know, everyone is interpreting it as an apology, but she said, you know, this was my mistake, I take responsibility for it, but I didn't hear that extra step of saying, I'm sorry. And she said, I know people are hurting, I know people are struggling on their bills, but that extra little step wasn't quite there.
Well, you know what? Let's play it. Let's play the clip, and we'll let people judge what they saw or what they didn't see in this. Kathleen Wynne last weekend.
People have told me that they've had to choose between paying the electricity bill and buying food or paying rent. That's unacceptable to me. It is unacceptable that people in Ontario would be facing that choice. So our government made a mistake. It was my mistake. And I'm going to do my best to fix it. I will do my very best to listen, to respond, to lead, and to serve you and the people of Ontario better. I will be right there with you as Premier, as leader. I'll be there with you as Kathleen, a proud mother, a grandmother. I thought I was going to get through this without crying.
What happened there?
That was, again, another surprise in that speech. I don't think I've ever seen her get that emotional before. We asked her in the scrum we did with her afterwards, you know, what was it that made you tear up at that moment? She said that it was sort of looking out at the crowd of Liberal faithful, and she said it was her team that's worked so hard. And I think probably part of that is knowing all of these bad poll numbers, the struggles the government is facing, and looking out and seeing how hard her team has worked. She said that that's what got her choked up.
Sounded to me like she took ownership of the troubles that the government is having and said, it was my mistake. I am going to do my best to fix it. I mean, what else do you want?
And in a caucus retreat a couple of weeks ago, the Premier teared up, and this was after one of the polls that showed her personal popularity very, very low, much lower than the Liberal Party's popularity. And she teared up and said to her colleagues behind closed doors, I feel bad for what I may be doing to you. I've talked to some cabinet ministers who, before the by-election in Ottawa-Vanier, were particularly worried that if they lost that seat, it would be the canary in the coal mine and the whole enterprise starts to go down the tubes. And they were saying that that we have to watch it if she could drag us down. Now, they won the by-election, and so maybe that dissent in the ranks is quelled a little bit.
What's your assessment, though, of the fact that she quite clearly appears to have taken ownership of this high electricity prices issue and says, okay, my mistake, and now I'm going to solve it?
It's a risky play, though. I mean, because it is not an easy thing to solve. They're going to take 8% of the provincial sales, the provincial portion of the HST, 8% off of bills starting in January. But Steve, that's going to cost $1 billion, and that's only for an 8% cut. So if you want to really impact people's bills, it's going to cost a lot of money.
Any suggestion that by doing that, depriving the Treasury of $1 billion that it was counting on, they run the risk of not balancing the budget next spring, which they very much promised to do and have doubled down on?
No, I think they're still going to balance. I mean, you said they've really kind of gone all in on this promise. It would not look good on them if they went back on it at this point. There are some suggestions that they're playing some accounting tricks in how they'll get to balance, counting on the revenue from one-time asset sales and the like, but
cap and trade, too.
Cap and trade, but I think that they've put so much into this promise at this point that we will see balance.
What did you think, Elson, about the fact that everybody's calling it the mea culpa speech, right? Why did it happen in that forum? Why was that the right place to make that speech for her?
Well, it was a friendly forum. First of all, she's not going to get jeered or booed, which we have seen recently. We've seen a lot of not very good receptions for her. She got booed at the plowing match. Her Liberal candidates got booed at a debate down in Niagara when she mentioned hydro prices. So it's a friendly forum to do it in. The timing was pretty good too, because she knew it was sort of, the main chunk of news out of that Liberal AGM that weekend. And sure enough, that news dominated the weekend and the whole rest of this week.
One of the promises she made in that speech as well, Rob, was to visit all 124 ridings in the province. We're not there yet, but before the next election, it'll jump to 124. What was the advisability of doing that?
Well, that's a risky thing to do. I was talking to her operations people afterwards, and they were thinking, my gosh, that's a lot of travel.
Did they know that was coming?
I think they knew that. I mean, remember, you can go to 50 ridings in the GTA probably in one day if you tried really hard. But we were surprised. Remember, it was only supposed to be 122 new ridings, but after redistribution. Now it's going to be 124 because there will be 2 more northern ridings that we didn't know about. So that was another nugget of news buried in the speech.
This is just going to prove what an old fogey I am, but I do remember Richard Nixon. Well, I can't say I remember it. I remember reading that Richard Nixon, in the 1960 campaign against John F. Kennedy, said, I'm going to visit all 50 states, and he ended up, with time running out, going to places like Alaska and Hawaii with no votes on the line. I mean, you can get yourself into pickles by making this kind of promise.
You really can. Like, why the Premier would go to Timmins, James Bay, where the NDP will probably win easily, or why she would waste her time in some other ridings that the Liberals won't win is beyond me, but she said it, so.
I guess the thinking is she hopes to get credit for at least being out there.
Sure. I mean, it's a way to sort of put her money where her mouth is. She said that I'm sorry, or she said, hydro prices are my fault, and I've heard your concerns, and I should be paying more attention to these issues that affect everyday Ontarians. So I think the strategy of going to every riding is a way to sort of show people, I'm listening. I'm not just saying I'm listening, but here I am listening to your concerns. And, she's quite good one-on-one with people. So I think it likely will help her in the end.
One of the people in that audience was a guy named David Hurley. David Hurley is, the most important behind-the-scenes guy that she has. And he has crunched numbers, one of the best in the country at it. What did he tell these delegates at that meeting? On
the Friday night they had a closed-door session that the media weren't allowed to go to, where they showed some polling on Patrick Brown, the Progressive Conservative leader, and his vulnerabilities, and the Liberal strengths and the Tory weaknesses. And one of their biggest strengths, they feel, is that Brown's voting record as a Conservative MP, when he was in federal politics, he voted with a lot of social conservatives on, he was against abortion, against same-sex marriage, issues like that. He has since renounced that, and now that he's at Queen's Park, he is much more socially liberal in his politics. But the Liberal research shows that his flip-flop on that is also bad for him. So something like 2/3 of the people that David Hurley's company polled found that they would be less likely to vote for Patrick Brown if they knew he'd flip-flopped on those kinds of issues.
Let me pursue that, Alison, a little bit more, because, of course, one of the ways you make the Liberals look better is by making the Tories look worse. What plans do they have to do that?
Well, they definitely plan to focus on the social issues. Like Rob was saying, you know, we saw it as far back as the Simcoe North by-election, and that's the one where Patrick Brown got in the legislature. That's where he got his seat. They went hard on the social issues during that campaign. Didn't work too well. Of course, it was a fairly safe seat for him, but I think that was sort of the beginning of what we'll see all the way through to 2018, is focusing on those social issues, because you know, poll numbers show that the majority of Ontarians you know, are pro-choice and are in favor of same-sex marriage. So having all three parties kind of on the same page there certainly helps the progressive Conservatives. So the Liberals will definitely want to highlight the fact that, hey, Patrick Brown wasn't always this progressive.
Is it your view that, you know, Brown is fairly new. He's only had the job for, I don't know, what, a year and a half or something like that? Mm-hmm. Is it your view that the Liberals can put him in a frame in which they define who he is before he gets a chance to define who he is?
That's their hope. When the Liberals have done focus groups, and one of the focus groups, more people recognize David Hurley conducting the focus group from his appearances on the National than they did Patrick Brown when they were showing pictures of Brown. So people, something like only 4 in 40 people actually knew who Patrick Brown was. So that's an opportunity for the Liberals to define. It's also an opportunity for the Tories to say, well, wait a minute, this is who this young guy is. He's our fresh-faced leader. He's making an outreach into cultural communities that the Tories haven't done provincially in forever, and he's new blood. So, I mean, it's an interesting challenge for both parties.
It is not atypical, though, a year and a half before an election campaign, for nobody in the province to know who the leader of the opposition is. We should just say that. That's typical.
Fair enough, yeah. But I think I would argue that before the 2003, a year and a half before the 2003 election, more people knew who Dalton McGuinty was.
Well,
he'd already run in 1999. Yeah. But
let's say you referenced the by-elections a little while ago, and Alison, let's pick up on that. Liberals held their seat in Ottawa. Mm-hmm. They got thrashed on the Niagara Peninsula. Came third, first time ever. What's the verdict on the by-elections?
You know, the by-elections basically held the status quo. The Liberals held on to Ottawa-Vanier, the Tories held on to Niagara-West Glanbrook. But they were interesting in that in Ottawa-Vanier, it wasn't that close. There was a lot of sort of scuttlebutt before the by-election that the Tories were going to really give the Liberals a run for their money in that riding. Of course, they had Andre Morin, the former ombudsman, as a pretty big-name, high-profile candidate. And the day before the by-election, Patrick Brown had been saying, you know, well, if we come even within 10 points of the Liberals in Ottawa-Vanier, then that says something. That's a really bad sign for them for 2018. But
they didn't come within 10.
They did not. No, in the end, it wasn't even close. So that's, you know, the
closer.
Liberals really were breathing a big sigh of relief about keeping Ottawa-Vanier. And of course, the very interesting bit about Niagara-West Glanbrook is not just that the Tories won, but who they elected this.
Well, let's pick up on that,
Yeah.
Rob, because obviously we have the youngest member ever in the history of Ontario politics coming to Queen's Park soon, Sam Oosterhoff, 19 years old. This is going to sound like a strange question. Are the Conservatives happy that he won?
They're happy they held the seat. They're not particularly happy that he won. I had a Conservative emailing me at very late on Thursday night. We were in Ottawa for that by-election.
This is 8 days ago.
This is 8 days ago, emailing me from the other by-election in Niagara-West Glanbrook, saying, the Liberals got the law school dean, we got the homeschooled teen. So
it's a good line.
Yeah, it was a good line, and like we've used it in print, not with my source's name attached, but because the Liberals elected Nathalie Desrosiers, the dean of the University of Ottawa's law school, quite a well-known civil liberties lawyer in Canada, and the Tories elected this. You know, he's a talented young guy. I mean, I finally met him. They wouldn't let him. The Tories wouldn't let him talk to the media during the campaign, the Queen's Park media during the campaign. But we bumped into him in the hallway this week at Queen's Park. He's a nice young guy. Certainly worked very hard and earned it in Tim Hudak's old seat, the former leader's seat. Mm-hmm. But he's an embodiment of what the Liberals are trying to say, is that this is a kind of a ramshackle group of people. There's social conservatives in it, and this is going to be a very tough one for Patrick Patrick Brown to keep him kind of under wraps.
How did this? I mean, this is clearly one of the hugest challenges that Brown has, is to somehow project an image of a bigger blue tent, while at the same time satisfying a social conservative base in the party that that wants to be heard. How do you do that?
I mean, publicly at least, he's not satisfying the social conservative base. He's basically broken ties with them after his whole sex ed flip-flop. The social conservatives came out hard against him. They were really displeased over that, and he basically said, well, don't vote for me then. He said Charles McVety was free to give his membership money back. So it really shows how he was trying to walk that fine line between keeping the social conservatives happy, but also trying to modernize the party. Seems like he's leaning more towards the party modernization at this point. In terms of having people like Sam Osterhoff in the party who hold those views, he's said that Sam agrees with the direction I'm taking the party in. So even though he may hold these views, well, we'll see. There are only so many votes at Queen's Park that these kinds of issues would come up on. The really first interesting test of that will be Bill 28, which gives same-sex parents some more rights. Essentially, it means they don't have to adopt their own children, but there are elements of the bill that the social conservatives are very unhappy about. So when that bill comes up for a vote, it will be very interesting to see which way Sam votes.
Rob, I'm thinking back. Mike Harris was Premier of the province from 1995 to 2002, and he very skillfully managed to make social conservative base within his party feel that it was welcomed, while at the same time projecting, whatever it was you needed to capture votes, obviously beyond that base. Does Patrick Brown yet demonstrate to you that he understands what that special sauce is?
No. I think intuitively he does, because he understands you're not going to get elected in Ontario by only appeasing social conservatives. But he has been so clumsy, frankly, in his dealing with them. We talked about this. Alison was mentioning the sex ed flip-flop. That was the letter that they distributed under Patrick Brown's signature during the Scarborough Rouge River by-election that they won, where they said that they would scrap the Premier Kathleen Wynne's sex ed curriculum update. It was quite controversial a year ago. But as one Tory told me, that's already been litigated. We lost that argument. Let's move forward. So why they would reopen that, I don't know. They really wanted to win the by-election. They ended up winning it. They didn't need to do that. And then Brown did his own mea culpa, where he said, I had nothing to do with that letter. It was done without my permission. So either he's saying that he didn't know about it, which speaks to a disarray in his office, which I think there is disarray in that office, frankly, or it's that he's a bit weaselly and flip-flops. So I don't know. Either outcome is not particularly good for him on that front.
Okay, in our remaining moments, let's come full circle, and we'll come back to the Liberals' AGM, annual general meeting, and Kathleen Wynne's speech, and consider whether or not that is kind of I know this word gets used too much, but I'm going to use it again anyway, whether that's a kind of a pivot, a reboot for her prospects. We know all the polls look pretty dire for her right now. What are the prospects of this being a new launching pad for the next 18 months and giving new wind in the sails to the governing party?
I think it's a pretty good signal that it is, that we'll see more of a focus on the struggles that everyday Ontarians face and more focus on the pocketbook issues. She's been very sort of broad in her agenda, looking at these really big pieces, cap and trade, selling Hydro One for infrastructure money, and they're a bit of a tough sell, because you're essentially telling people, I know this might hurt in the short term, but trust us, it's good in the long term. And I'm not sure that that's a message that really resonates a lot with voters. So certainly, I think we'll probably see more of a shift towards her focusing on these pocketbook issues.
What's your feeling on that, Rob?
Look, the Liberals are in deep trouble. By the time of the next election, they've been in power for 15 years. That's a long time. I don't know if we're going to go back to the Tory dynasty of 1943 to 1985 again in this province. It's just, it doesn't seem likely. So the logic would say that another party will form government at some point, and it could be in 2018. And if the polls are correct right now, it should be Patrick Brown's Conservatives leading the way. The only thing is, the Liberals are better campaigners, and they have shown themselves to be more strategically clever over the years than the Tories, who have shot themselves in the foot in 3 or 4 elections. So will they do that again in 2018? I don't know. We haven't talked about Andrew Horwath's New Democrats, and probably with good reason, because they're kind of not on the radar right now.
You think with good reason that they're just not out there?
I think that,
I mean, they were championing the 8% cut in the HST for the hydro prices. The Liberals stole that policy of theirs, and
Wynne has taken the Liberals so far to the left on so many issues that she's eaten their lunch. There's a lot of room in the centre and in the right for Patrick Brown's Conservatives. Whether he'll exploit that, I don't know.
you can't tell. I remember I've asked the Premier this question in the past, and it's always interesting to hear the answer. There's a moment at which the electorate tunes you out, right? And you don't really know when that moment comes. You know you've got critics out there, but until the election actually happens, you can't know whether people have just stopped listening. Can you tell whether the public is open to a message that the Liberals are now advancing, which is still trust us, even though we've screwed some things up, but we're still your best bet to keep the province on track?
I mean, it's hard to know. Her poll numbers are at historic lows. They're just, they're in the teens. It's not uncommon at mid-mandate for a premier, for a leader to be experiencing bad poll numbers. But certainly that doesn't leave a whole lot of receptive people out there to this new message. And the reaction that we've been seeing to Kathleen Wynne's mea culpa is, like I said in the beginning, it doesn't seem to be changing a lot of minds. The people who were staunchly anti-Kathleen Wynne are still staunchly anti-Kathleen Wynne. They don't believe this message of hers that she's focused on them and their needs now.
But she's got the majority of the seats at Queen's Park. She doesn't really have to get new converts out there. She just has to hang on to what she's got already.
She does, but a lot of the people these days, I'm hearing, who are anti-Kathleen Wynne are people who voted Liberal in the last election. So I think it's going to be a real struggle for them to hang on to the seats, to the votes that they got in 2014.
When you see her out there on the stump, campaigning, doing retail politics, does it look to you like she still has that connection with the electorate that she clearly had back in 2014?
I don't know if she still has that connection. I think she certainly still has the same passion and the same fire in her belly. There are a lot of rumblings about, that she would step down, mostly from Conservatives. I don't know if it was wishful thinking or if it was just them sort of convincing themselves that these are the signals that they were reading, that she wouldn't run again. I've asked her publicly and privately, are you going to run again? And she's like saying yes. I mean, she loves the job. I remember at the end of Dalton McGuinty's, even in the 2011 election, you can tell McGuinty was already kind of getting fed up with it. I don't get the sense that the Premier is fed up with being Premier yet.
Having said that, based on you're down there, so you have lots of off-the-record conversations with backbenchers and cabinet ministers and party members and so on. Genuinely, how much confidence do they have right now that she is the best person to lead them into the next election, given that they want to win that next election?
Well, I'd say 8 days ago, Steve, before that by-election, the confidence was starting to waver seriously. But winning by almost 20 points in Ottawa-Vanier with a good candidate who's cabinet minister material made them feel a lot more confident. And I think there's no question there are some in her caucus who feel that she is a liability. But there's always going to be nattering nabobs of negativism.
Nice.
Nice. William Sapphire lives.
There you go.
In caucuses. However, it's not like there's someone better waiting in the wings. There's no heir apparent.
Well, but that is the question, and let's finish up on that. I've spoken to Conservatives who previously wanted her out because they thought they had a better chance of, Now they want her to stay. Yeah. They think there are better chances with her staying there, and they think they're more likely to win. What do the Liberals tell you in terms of who represents their best chance to win next time?
I mean, just like Rob said, I really think they are putting all of their stock right now behind Kathleen Wynne. Not only is there not one obvious successor waiting in the wings, but of course the election is only 18 months away. I mean, it sort of sounds far away, but if you look at how long the leadership contests federally are taking, that would not, if she was to step down today, it would not leave a whole lot of time for people to organize, to get leadership campaigns ready, to pick a new leader, and then to start selling that new leader to the province.
Right. And the campaigns are, it's crazy, but the campaign's already started. I saw the Ontario Medical Association put out an ad the other day talking about getting focused and ready for the next election campaign. We're going to have 18 months of this?
Yeah, with the fixed election date, this is the element of surprise is gone. Yeah. So yeah, we're going to see lots of advertising about this campaign over the next 18 months.
Oh, joy. Yeah. Okay, Robert Benzie, Alison Jones, great to have you here at TVO tonight. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Anytime.
Help TVO create a better world through the power of learning. Visit TVO.org and make a tax-deductible donation today.